Hey, it's Saturday, October 26th, and this is Season 3, Episode 4 or 7 with the quick slays. I don't know, but you know what it's called.
The Slayers of Boredom Podcast.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
It's been a bit.
New venue.
Yeah.
Venue, too,
Yeah.
for now. I guess if you guys watched my quick slay, which I don't think a lot of people did because it wasn't a quick slay, and I get it. You saw I was in this environment. And that's where we are right now because the other place where we record is occupied for today. So
This is true.
and we needed to get in on something because it's been a long time.
Not too long, as I would
Yeah,
put
like
it.
4 months, I think.
Yeah. Since I started the new job, it's been since then. Because I've been dreading posting this, knowing they're going to see it and then learn who I really am. And I've been like, oh, well, it's been, now that we're well past that point. I'm a good employee.
Yeah.
So they're not going to care what my political
I think I'm
beliefs are.
I think I'm a good employee too, and I haven't told anybody at my job about this.
Well, you're going to tomorrow. Get us them views. Or I guess Monday. Get us
Yes,
them
Monday,
views.
because it is Saturday, like we said in the beginning.
Yeah. Call back. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do we want to catch up on anything? You watch anything good?
Yes and no. I mean, everything recently has been pretty good that I've been watching.
Lord of the Rings or Rings of Power?
No.
No,
No.
you're not into that.
No, I saw what I really liked the most was A Violent Nature. It's like,
Sounds about right.
it's a slasher film. Yeah. It's a slasher film, but it's done from the perspective of like the Jason or the Michael Myers, like over the shoulder stuff.
Sure.
And it's just slasher films get old. I still watch them. I don't care, but the formula's there. It's easy to do. But to do it from a new perspective, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it was still the same thing, like you would get over the shoulder while he's walking a lot, which I felt like was just filler. Like it could have been a 45-minute movie, but he walks through the woods a bunch. But so you'll see him like walk up on two people fucking or whatever, and they'll go then to the other angle, and you can see him just barely. It's almost like a Where's Waldo scenario in every scene. You know where he's at because he can't not be in the scene essentially. So it made it for like a fun movie. You're always looking for
Where's
him.
Waldo?
I really liked it. But what about yourself?
Oh, as far as movies that I saw,
Anything, something that stands out.
Rings of Power was cool. My wife and I are always watching John Oliver. That's always good.
I'm a little behind on that, to be honest.
Oh, Slow Horses. I know I've talked about it before.
I started it. I couldn't get into it. But I keep seeing more and more that it's like a phenomenal show. So I think I might give it another go.
It is. And, it's quick and to the point. You know what I mean? There's only like 6, maybe 7 episodes per season. They're like 40, 45 minutes an episode, and they're just based off these books. And the books are great by a gentleman named Mick Herron who lives out in England, Oxford, I believe.
I'll give it another go.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Oldman's great. I think he really does a good job as Jackson Lamb. And again, like when you read it on the page, that's at least what my mind's eye can conjure is something pretty close to Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
It's fucking hilarious.
We ever get into something like, so I sat down. I don't get a lot of free time. I sat down. I'm like, I'm going to give Slow Horses a chance. But because I don't get a lot of free time, I put that on. And then I just kind of peeked at my phone. Before I knew it, I was a little deeper in my phone. And I'm looking up and I'm like, who's that? That seems like a main character I should know something about.
Yeah, it moves quick.
And so I feel like I didn't give it the old college try, but I'll go back.
It's okay.
Slow
I mean, you
Horses.
should, but it's all right if you don't, too.
I will.
Okay.
All right. So as far as politics go, we did some quick slays on some passing news, this and that, but nothing too deep dive on the election or the debates or wherever, we missed a lot is what I'm trying to say. So to try and catch up and cover it all seems moot, knowing that we have the election in T-minus 10 days, 15 days.
Yeah. It's a week from Tuesday.
Yeah. So
And we probably won't know till I'd say at the latest Friday after that Tuesday.
But I feel like there's some points that if anybody's on the fence, you should hear and not so much focus on all the fluff that's happened in the past, 6 months that we haven't spoken on, camera. So you want to just dive in and just go straight into economic plans, or you want to start with something more entertaining? I don't even know what else is entertaining that we have.
None of this is very entertaining.
No.
It's very grim, in my opinion.
If you like,
but yeah, I mean, I think it's important just to identify with I guess I would say issues that are going to be influencing people to either vote for Trump or vote third party or not at all, which history shows like like I was saying earlier, like Clinton's margin of victory in 2016, there was enough third party votes that, there's an argument to be made that helped Trump end up winning that election because enough people voted third party. Jill Stein or Gary Johnson. In swing states, obviously, because again, that seems to be all that matters because of the stupid electoral college. Again, that's obviously a huge problem, but that's something we can't change right now. And that is kind of like the theme I feel like we're going for. Like the here and now is like we have this binary choice, because everybody knows third party's not going anywhere. Jill Stein's not. I mean, the Green Party hasn't elected anybody in any type of significant election in the country, like at all.
It's unfortunate, but it's not possible.
It's a fucking but
it's just not possible.
Jill Stein is a grift. She's a grifter. Okay, she's only popular like around election time, and she just goes in there just basically just to throw a wrench in the whole machine. And I get the whole binary machine is annoying. We don't want to have just two candidates.
Yeah.
The lesser of two evils, like you were saying, like everybody says all the time. Like I feel like a lot of adult choices are the lesser of two evils, and we get that. But I guess what we want to try and sway you today is to pick the lesser of two evils, which we obviously are going to say is Harris, because she has the only chance of beating who we feel, and a lot of people feel, is an obvious threat to
democracy.
I hate saying democracy because there's so many. Well, there's a lot of ways that we are, again, here I go about capitalism again, but that holds a lot of people. I don't think you can have true democracy in a country that has the type of capitalistic economic system that we have, but I'm not going to go down that route right now. Because again, money buys freedom at that point, like true freedom to say what you want, to do what you want, to be above the law, punishable by fine really just means legal for a price, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess anyways, back to what we want to do today is just try and people who are on the fence or again, voting third party or not at all for a certain reason, we want to try to
get you to vote.
Yeah. And get you to vote for Harris because obviously all you have to do is look at Donald Trump and just,
and know that that's a bad option. There is ample evidence, and the MAGA people out there, they don't enjoy research of any kind, so they won't dive into these things, the economic policies, this and that. We hope that the Green Party potential voter and the non-voter, you are looking at the facts, and you're probably seeing what we're doing to Gaza and thinking, I can't support an administration that does something like that. But in the same regard, the opposite option of the two, one or the other that will win, is so inept and so lost that it, the 2025 Project 2025, this and that and the other thing is there. When you say lesser of two evils, it's not like which one's going to be as bad. One has all of our best interests in mind, and then on the back end in foreign policy, I feel is completely inept. The other is just a con man that has duped a cult of people into following him, and for you not to participate in something to avoid the cult taking over just boggles my mind.
Yeah, we'll get into the domestic policy, obviously, but that's pretty stark, and a lot of people know that. But when it comes to the foreign policy in Gaza, especially, there's nothing to suggest, and I'll go over some points. There's nothing to suggest that Donald Trump isn't going to do anything other than make that situation infinitely worse.
Infinite.
Okay, and I'm not trying to be prescient. I'm not trying to be like, oh, okay, I know what's going to happen. But, there's plenty of things that I will talk about and we'll talk about that will certainly lean the way that, I'm going with there.
We've been doing this long enough that we can say go back a little bit and you can see where we were honest and felt like we knew what was going to happen. And then here we are. Our global warming coverage, our first episode, I think, was on the Doomsday Glacier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
And although that hasn't dropped yet, which we didn't say it would, we did talk about how the difference between 2022 and 2030 isn't like on 2030 that the world's going to start to see all these issues and everything. It's going to be a gradual process. Mm-hmm. And now you're seeing these hurricanes and these floods and everything else hit this earth, and unprecedented has no meaning anymore. This is the stuff we were preaching 3 years ago. So where I'm coming from and where you say, I don't want to,
be prescient.
Yeah. Sorry. No, that's fine.
Stupid words.
there's a little bit of we do a lot of research, we care, and we try to be as accurate as possible. Obviously, we're not going to hit every single one, but look at our track record, and you can probably see it.
In the spirit of that, like, I mean, again, obviously we can't predict the future, but we can, explain how things might go, and in a lot of cases do go that way if we continue to start to, I don't know, bend the framework to the point of, getting ready to snap our democracy per se. But I question why people want to roll the dice on this. You know what I mean? Whether it be from the stance of Gaza, which, you can, if you're going to come right at me right away and say that I want children to die and I'm a terrorist just because I'm telling you to vote for Harris, then I'm not even going to have this conversation with you. Okay. Because obviously that's not true. Like, that is a non-starter to really come at me and tell, like, and I get that a lot sometimes. Obviously I don't want any of this to continue in Palestine, but it's sort of just like we're on this playing field, and yeah, I know it's more of the same, but we have to play ball. And like I said, there's nothing, I'm not going to roll the dice on what I feel, Trump obviously will make everything, infinitely worse. And there's plenty of like demonstrable information to back that up. So again, I just question why anybody would sort of, like, I hate to use the term throw away their vote, but I mean, like I said, it happened in 2016. 100%
what it is. It's 100% what it is. You're throwing it away. You have a choice between A and B. Whether you like that or not, this is America. You have A or B. A or B is going to win. There's no chance the whole nation is going to all of a sudden decide to go Green Party, third party, whatever. So, you have A or B. If you decide to go third party, you might as well not vote. That's up to you. But that's the reality of it all.
There's another... Yeah, I mean, that is the reality. It's the way it is right now, and I understand that we still want to change it, but think of it this way. Like, I thought there were a lot of extrajudicial, there was a lot of violence and stuff like that, a lot of protests. There were a lot of people being arrested that shouldn't have been arrested and stuff like that. But obviously that is a problem in and of itself in our current framework. But somebody who calls, people who go up against him as the enemy within, somebody who wants to basically take back, it's called the posse comitatus, if that's how you say it in Latin, act from 1878, which basically says that the military is not to intervene in like civil law enforcement and stuff like that. Okay. But
it makes sense.
But I was also reading a lot of like political scholars are saying that the legislation, the way it's written, is very thin and can be manipulated. So they're afraid of that. And, when Trump says things like dispatching the military against the enemy within, that's a little concerning. So the way I would say to look at it is, like, if you even want to be able to go to protest and stand up for what you believe in with, like, any of these people on the internet that I think are, trying to manipulate people to vote Green Party or not vote at all, you won't be able to protest any of these things going on in Gaza or anything, protest women's rights, protest, equal pay, protest anything like that if Trump gets what he wants. So, yeah. I mean, just that's another thing. Like, I feel like a lot of
freely, like what we do right here is at jeopardy in a mild way. Yeah. I don't think that in the next 4 years, if Trump wins, that we're not going to be able to do podcasts against him. But these are the stepping stones.
Just, do you want to roll the dice? That's what I'm going to keep going back to. You know what I mean? Do you want to chance that? Like, I feel kind of in the here and now, the election is now. Like, we need to make sure that Trump doesn't get back in there, and then you get right back to fucking work, making the current administration accountable and stopping their funding of the IDF with our tax dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like right now, it's just, you can't, let's just go right to those points. Then we'll do the economic stuff because, sorry, I'm an asshole and I have notes. Okay, so Donald Trump many times has declared himself the most pro-Israel president in the history of U.S. presidents. In 2019, he did that, okay?
Yeah, it pushes towards the evangelicals.
Netanyahu in 2020 said that Trump was the best friend Israel has ever had in the White House, okay? 2019 as well. Oh, I'm sorry. A majority of Israelites approved that his policies and recognized Jerusalem as the capital of the U.S. Embassy, which I said in my quick slays, which is very offensive to Palestinians. Jerusalem is like actually probably one of those like supposed to be few neutral sites because it has such holy significance to religious significance of both parties. Yeah. recognizing it, as the capital and putting the U.S. embassy there as well. Move that from Tel Aviv. I mean, these are, again, nothing to suggest that Trump isn't going to do anything but make the situation worse.
He supports Israel wholeheartedly.
He also, in 2019, also recognized the Golan Heights as part of Israel, even though it was a Syrian territory at the time. That was another piece of land that was annexed in the 6 Days War, which we've talked about before. That's when the huge push from Israel into, like the West Bank and other parts of Palestine. That's when a lot of those like settlements or like the colonialist tactics really started to ramp up after the 6 Days War in 1967, I believe. My God, what else did he do? Oh yeah, he's cut aid to Palestine plenty of times to the UN RWA. Even called for it, like when he was calling for it when Biden, like when this first happened and everything was like landing on Biden's shoulders, and he continued to whatever. Like as Biden's funding Israel, Trump's gung ho about it too. So yeah, it doesn't make our leadership look bad. Like I get that, but these are just the fact that he declared himself the most pro-Israel president, and Netanyahu agrees that he's the most, like, the best friend from the White House that they've ever had. I mean, that should give you pause and concern the shit out of you, because obviously Netanyahu, the Knesset as well, has a lot of, obviously all the influence on what's going on with the IDF and their operations now in Lebanon and Gaza, and now, we're going to be
Yemen and everywhere else.
Iran, yeah, it's
a messy situation.
It's a really precarious situation.
The history has shown that Donald Trump supports dictators and strongmen as he sees them. Mm-hmm. But what is happening is a full genocide and a wiping out of a people in Palestine. And I don't want to take away from that at all when I'm talking about who to vote for, because it sucks to vote for Harris when she'll sit at her podium and say, how she wants a 2-state solution and, blah, 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 that she's all for the ceasefire and she's going to continue those talks, whatever. And then during that speech, in the same day, we're getting the information that they're giving them $7 billion when we can't even give ourselves universal health care. It makes absolutely no sense other than financially for our stock market and for our economy that the military-industrial complex is always boosted up. So I'm not into it. There are literal babies dying. It is a full-on genocide.
I'm tired of seeing it, man. It's that college student that you see burning alive, and that one, like he was 19 years old. Like I get it, man. It pulls your heartstrings heavily. And like, again, me being a parent, I know I bring that up all the time. Like I haven't watched any of the. I've seen enough footage. Okay, like if there's new footage coming out, I'm not going to subject myself to that anymore, because I can't fucking take it.
It's depressive.
You know what I mean?
You don't need to. You know what's happening. You've seen it now. The more you see it, I think that should keep coming out, because some people haven't yet.
It's like you get desensitized to it.
Yeah, but it's there and it's happening every day. They're hitting schools. I remember when the first school and the first hospital was hit. And it was like, oh, it was an accident, or oh, this and that. We don't even. No one even cares anymore.
They just openly do it, man.
And and what they even say isn't like apologies or anything like that. It's like the whole world court has been just thrown on its head to see this. Netanyahu and his IDF are just murdering relentlessly and doing every war crime they can imagine. And yet there are no repercussions whatsoever. Like, what are they hitting UN vehicles now?
Killing a lot of journalists. They killed 4 journalists in Lebanon the other day.
No repercussions. But they're actually hitting UN vehicles, like aid vehicles. And they're like, well, there may be Hamas hijacking them and taking them, blah, blah, blah. That's not the way it's supposed to work. You still can't fucking do this shit.
The word that comes to mind the most is it's extremely indiscriminate.
Yeah.
And did you see the leveling of that? It was a residential building the other day. There was like slow-mo video of like that missile coming in and everything. They just leveled it with one strike. It was insane in Lebanon. And it's just like, Jesus Christ.
You can look at before and after aerial photos of Gaza and understand that this is, they're reshaping the map. And it's not just some little war where spats are happening and people are dying here and there. It's one party carpet bombing an area. The refugees have nowhere to go. I'm watching the interviews with them. It's not so much the gore, but just seeing the pain, and it sucks so bad to see them be like, where else do we go? You tell us to go here, we go there. You bomb the shit out of that. And then you tell us to go somewhere else, you bomb the shit out of that.
I'll tell you where they're going to go. And I'll tell you where they're going to go. And the U.S. government in Israel knows where they're going to go. They're going to go somewhere else, and they're going to end up getting they're going to get freaking fortified and funded, and they are going to want to seek revenge eventually.
Yeah.
And
is how you create terrorists.
Exactly. And that's, I mean, it's been happening since, I mean, it's been every time you go to a new place and you start deciding like this land is mine now, and there's resistance, and you start being like, okay, well, you know, and this is obviously a very asymmetrical conflict. Like
100%.
this is
always has been.
This is one of the most advanced militaries in the world going to fight a terrorist group that I shouldn't put quotes. Hamas is a terrorist group, but the quotes are for the fact that they're fighting. Well, all right. They want to go in there and kill a terrorist group, which they're trying to do, but they are also killing
countless
innocent civilians. And, you know, I don't care about, it's the Hamas Ministry of Health that's saying these numbers or whatever. It's like, no, dude, it's the UN. It's the doctors that are there. Like, all you have to do, search up doctors, like what doctors witness in Gaza, and they will tell you multiple head wounds a day, many of them children. We're talking bullet wounds and shit, crushed bodies, missing limbs, amputees. There's been 900 families that have been wiped off the earth.
Yeah,
every family member completely wiped off the earth. That's fucking genocide.
Yeah.
Okay, like
there's no way around it. Well, I used to think, how did the Holocaust happen? I used to think that because I would think like the German people had to know. I think they did know. I just think they didn't have a say in it. Hitler, I think they did. I think
they knew.
Yeah, I think it's just like this, that they were like, this is disgusting. Why are we doing this? This is not something I agreed upon, but you have enough sycophants, and if your leader's Hitler, you know, like, what are you going to do? If you speak up, you get killed. So, I mean, I
think now it's just in the main interest of, I mean, like, obviously, like, there's, you put it under the guise, a lot of them put it under the guise of, like, religious differences, or, like, we're the whole, like, I saw footage of an Israeli soldier sitting there and reading out of the Torah, I believe it is, reading out of the Torah in front of a bunch of bound Palestinians, like right in front of them, just sitting there reading. So like for some people that are very overzealous when it comes to their religion, it might be about that. But I mean, it's mainly about capitalism. It's about land. It's about power. Like, it's just all of like the worst things that human can offer you that, you know, nowadays can be offered you right on your phone. In the world of like the media, you know, the media landscape and social media and shit like that, it's just right in front of you. And it's just, that's what amazes me the most, how it just continues. You know what I mean?
It feels like there's too much information out there for this to just be like a background conversation. Like, that's just happening over in Gaza. It's like a whole people, children, mothers, families, all suffering daily, all day. There's nowhere for them to go, and yet we still supply the bombers with bombs.
We do, and you know, the politics in this country is obviously fucking disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, JD Vance the other day was just like, you shouldn't let friendships and relationships with family members go down the drain because of politics and stuff like that. But it's not about politics anymore. It's about values. It's hard to see either side having any values when it comes to this conflict, okay? Do I truly think that Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about really being responsible for anything that happens that's atrocious and terrible? Yes, I do think he doesn't care. I really do think that he doesn't give a fuck. I think he is soulless and, you know, a bit of a sociopath. Do I think that, you know, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you know, have a heart and obviously don't want to continue seeing children get bombed? Yes, I do think they have a heart. Do I think that they are cowards for not saying it out loud? Yes. But unfortunately, again, we are all sort of in this situation with her. I'm not saying like, yay, we're on her team or we endorse her, but if we want her to win, we are in this situation that she has to play politics. I mean, I just, it's disgusting, but in order to keep Donald Trump out, she can't alienate a lot of people that maybe wouldn't vote for her because they think Donald Trump's going to do a better job if they happen to defend Israel and Netanyahu. You know what I mean? Like, there are people in this country that don't give a shit about what's going on in Gaza, or they are supporting the IDF and just that constantly, well, you know, October 7th and Hamas, and it's just like, obviously they can't see how it's so incredibly disproportionate at this point, like the carnage, you know what I mean? you have to do what you have to do to keep this fucking man out right now. And like, I'm not saying like, okay, bomb children, but I'm saying like, there's just certain words that have to be said.
Well, what like? Okay, you don't want to vote.
It's so hard to like not come off like an asshole right now. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think it is. I think it's, if you think that voting for Harris is strictly a vote for bombing children, when you have an A/B option and the other option would never care in the least for it, then you're just being naive. There's like, it's painfully obvious to anyone that's paying attention that we shouldn't be giving money to Israel. That's true. Let's keep that fight going. But in the meantime, there's a small fight of who's going to be president, and that would be Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris has, as we get into her economic plan, has a good economic plan for the nation, whereas Donald Trump's, it just supports the rich again. Thus, there's our decision. That's what we should be fighting there, and then go back to our fight against Gaza and making our government be accountable for what they're doing. But if you have Harris, as we just spoke a moment ago, if you have Harris in office, you have a chance at actually having your voice heard. Whereas if you have, do we really? Because we've been yelling at the top of our lungs. But and then you have Trump on the other end, and you have a chance you won't have your voice heard, just literally silenced. And that should be clear as day. As like, all right, let's just get this fucking guy out of here. Let's move on. Because he's not, if he loses, you think he's going to be gone? No, he's going to pretend he didn't lose. There may be riots. He's called for violence. He just
doesn't want to go to jail, dude. That's all it fucking is. He'll say whatever the fuck he needs to say, whether it's dumb or not. Most of the time dumb, but there are strategic things that he does say. Like he was trying to say he wants to get rid of all income tax, but that's bullshit. That's not going to happen. And he has no plan and no way of figuring out how to do that.
Yeah, don't tax the tips. These aren't blanket statements you can make. There's policy, there's things you can do to make taxing on tips be minimal, if non-existent. But to just say like, I'm going to take the tax off the tips, is just hitting the service industry and hoping they vote for you. He has no plan to do it. That isn't an executive order you can fucking do.
Another thing that like really diving into like the danger of Trump at this point is like you could make the argument that like, 2016 through 2020, like COVID was bad. Obviously that was mismanaged because the guy's an asshole.
Yeah. Let's use bleach.
We don't need to get into that, but
I'd love to.
At the same time, like when this original group came in, they were like, I said in my quick say, they were like this desultory group that was, kind of wandering around, meandering around, because they didn't fucking expect to win in 2016. Like they didn't. So the one thing that they did have though was adults in the room. Now we're talking like Stephen fucking Miller might be his chief of staff. Roger fucking Stone is going to be in this administration this time. Okay, RFK might be the minister of health, dude.
He will. Anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, exactly. It's
anti-vaxxer and pushes anti-vaxxing so much that measles is now prevalent in Africa. So look that up. But that could be our. That could be our.
Just listen to Behind the Bastards. It's the best podcast on Spotify ever. He does a 5-episode series on freaking RFK and plenty of other assholes like Henry Kissinger and fucking. Steven Seagal. It's great, dude. You gotta check it out. Well, Robert Evans.
You saw Elon Musk come out on stage jumping around
like a dipshit.
Yeah, obviously. But he's creating a position for Elon Musk. The Secretary of Cost Cutting.
Oh, wow.
Elon Musk, the Secretary of Cost Cutting.
Yeah, but Elon Musk is still going to get his billions of dollars in government grants.
Oh,
which is the same reason why Bezos told the Washington Post not to endorse Kamala Harris. The other day, but they instead they just basically wrote an article saying they were going to endorse Kamala Harris, but Jeff Bezos told them not to, which is hilarious.
That's
to me.
Fantastic.
So like this is such a close race. It scares the shit out of me. But again, how I'm not equating, indiscriminate carpet bombing of civilians in Gaza and people violently claiming settlements in the West Bank and beyond and stuff like that. I'm not saying any of that is worse than, we don't have that type of indiscriminate killing in this country, and we should be fortunate and privileged for that. And, maybe that's one of the great things about America is the fact that, I don't know. I mean, we cause it elsewhere, so it doesn't happen here, basically. Yeah. So that's not really great. It's sickening. But anyways, I would just say that there are plenty of issues that are at stake domestically that do make America great. Like the fact that a woman can get, used to be able to, it was protected federally, could get an abortion. You know what I mean? Like that, a federal abortion ban is definitely like on the plate with these type of people. Like not even Trump, but JD Vance, you know what I mean? Freaking Stephen Miller, the people behind Project 2025, like they want a federal abortion ban. They want to do away with the Department of Education. Privatizing education. I mean, that is basically all that screams is brainwashing at that point.
Yeah.
When you privatize it, you don't have educational standards. You don't have teaching standards upheld. People can teach whatever they want, however they want. I mean, it's not.
At this point,
it's terrifying.
You have Finland, who is part of their, grade school classes is understanding and being able to diagnose misinformation online, because they're trying to further their population to get away from the lies and actually progress. We are banning books. America bans books in libraries, in schools. Like, what happened? There's a place where
what happened. Fascism is growing in this country because that's what fucking fascists do.
But it's just absurd to think, when 1984 was written and some of these books, they were kind of like cautionary tales and it was fantasy. When today it's some of these ridiculous things are real, that like sex education is still faux pas in schools. And, I don't know how to.
It's the great mystery, man.
Yeah. How do you get to the masses and tell them like look at around the world and find things that are working and let's try to apply it here, rather than just let's listen to this fucking buffoon in between his songs he likes. And
when he's doing his dances.
Yeah. And
jerking two dicks.
Yeah, of course.
Did you see the I'm sorry, I don't mean, did you see Dave Bautista's thing?
Where he basically, or no?
No, he just basically, he endorses Harris and makes fun of Trump the whole time. Like calls him a whiny little bitch and shit like that.
It is.
He's like, oh, did somebody grab you by the pussy? Oh my God, it's hilarious. You should watch it.
If you didn't watch the debate against Harris and Trump, I recommend going back and watching that, because that's an eye-opener.
Oh yeah, and dude, Tucker Carlson being his freaking lackey sycophant at that
most
rally the other day where he's like spanking.
Oh
my God.
But
Daddy's home, like equating us to his children, and we live in his house. Like this country is that motherfucker's house.
I don't like it one bit.
Oh my God.
But why I brought up the debate is just because at one point you can see Harris, she starts out by being like, I'm going to invite all of you, and I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to invite all of you to go to Donald Trump's rallies, encouraging you to go and saying you need to see him and what he says and watch the people walk out of the rally. Now, whether or not people walk out of the rally, she knew exactly what she was doing when she was saying that. And that was something that was going to off-road him. Whatever the plan was for him for the rest of the thing, it's now in his head that she has said they're walking out and they're not walking out. And you thought, is he going to take that bait? And within seconds, he took that bait. He didn't answer the question that was asked and just wanted to talk about his rallies for 20 minutes.
Didn't answer a lot of questions.
No, I mean, they never do. But the J.D. Vance Waltz one, you know what I mean? It's all, we'll also answer a question.
That's a damning non-answer.
Yeah, but it is what it is. But just to see how Harris can manipulate him, and I don't even have that much respect for Harris, that, on the world stage, when he goes and he meets with Putin and he goes and he meets with these other dictators he loves, all they have to do is give him a nice time, give him the royal treatment, and he's going to think like, well, these guys know what they're doing, rather than somebody that would challenge him like Angela Merkel. You remember their interaction? He wouldn't even shake her hand.
Yeah.
And she's not a bad person. I mean, I'm sure Germany has their own situation. I'm not too in depth on that, but I liked what she was putting out. And, of course, Donald Trump would not, because it's for the people and not the dictator. But, it's just to see a man that potentially would run this country that I know I could manipulate, if I was powerful enough. It should scare everybody, and at least say, oh, no, he shouldn't be in office. If you just got to give him a bit of flowers and he'll do what you want. But, it's a neck and neck race with a buffoon and an educated woman.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest issue with Harris is I just don't like that she's a cop. Like, I'm not into that. I have a huge problem with our system of incarceration in this country and stuff like that. But
of course,
at the same time, it speaks volumes about the people who are all about law and order and don't give a shit that that Trump is a fucking felony or as a felon. You know what I mean? And they'll still vote for him over a woman who literally had a career in law enforcement as a prosecutor and district attorney, I believe. And was she an attorney general? I don't know, whatever. But either way, she's a cop.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
If you have that flag on the back of your car
hypocrisy again
that has the blue line on it and the rest is black and white, if you have that flag anywhere on your property, your car, whatever, you should be voting for Harris with that kind of sticker, not the felon.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, but that's not what it's about because, like, okay, this is gonna get off. We always get off topic. Who gives a shit? My wife and I were talking, what there. I feel like it with Harris, people voting for Harris, or anybody just voting to keep Trump out that want to keep Trump out. I feel like at this point we're all just unified on one thing, like just keep this motherfucker out of there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Most of us. But there is a myriad of different types of reasons and people voting for Donald Trump. So we were talking, and finally, like we went out and got hibachi last night, and we're always just talking about like, okay, well, I used to always just say it's the uneducated, but they can be fixed through education. Basically just education. The things standing in the way there are like, stubbornness, pride, nationalism and stuff. They're bigotry. But if you can I feel like if you just hit somebody over the head with enough fucking facts, if they're just willing to look at them rather than chasing their confirmation bias elsewhere, you know what I mean? Then maybe you can change them to some degree. Like I'm basically saying it's not their fault that they're uneducated. That's a systemic problem within their, a lot of times rural communities, inner city communities, whatever.
Family dynamic.
And that is a problem with government not funding schools appropriately. And that's why the Department of Education is so fucking important, people.
If you don't think it is, I ask why. How could you think a Department of Education is unnecessary in a nation this large?
Because it's about changing and controlling the culture of the country, making it some weird patriarchal, fascistic, Christian nationalist movement. You know what I mean? Like building good little soldiers that believe in God and, like beat their wife when they get home if dinner isn't like where it's supposed to be and like shit like that. Beat their kids and stuff for getting their Bible verses wrong because you're the dad and you get in. Like that is the fucking movement. A lot of this, it's so fucked up. It's disgusting.
It is. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make sense at all. But so I used to think it was split. It would be like the uneducated people, or there's the people that are morally bankrupt, and that goes into that can be several different types of people, from like the finance bros, like those fucking ghouls and shit like that, to the people that are just straight up racist, to the people that just the masculine macho dudes that like don't give a shit, like and a lot of these people tend to be the wealthier people that vote for Trump. Like they just don't give a fuck about anybody else. They just want to make money and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've even seen interviews though with like there was a woman. I was listening to a Pod Save America episode. And there was a woman she was some correspondent, I think, for MSNBC at one point. But she was interviewing some barbershops in Philadelphia. And the one dude was just like, look, man, times are tough. I make more money with assholes. And she was like, what do you mean? He's like, with an asshole? He's like, look, Donald Trump's an asshole. I get it. But I made a lot more money when he was president. I'm struggling now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like,
they had I forget what I was watching one of the videos recently, but it was, a business mogul, and the guy asked him, the interviewer was like, how do you look, because he was a Harris supporter, but he was like, how do you look at your cohorts and the people around you that are going to vote for Trump, knowing the financial state that he would put us in, and know they're going to vote for him when they're financially intelligent? And he was like, the thing is it's going to be a business free-for-all. He's going to deregulate like crazy. Businesses can make moves. So if you are part of a business that you want to do better, then you'll vote against your personal best interest to fund your pocketbook. But the majority of workers aren't part of that plan. And yet those are the conned ones that are going to vote for him as well. That's
the scary.
It's ridiculous because it's proven now, if we want to get into the economic side of thing, is that Harris's plan will cut taxes to anyone making less than $400,000 a year and increase taxes for the super wealthy. Yep. Trump's is the exact opposite. Now
he's around like 365 or something. If you make under $365,000 a year, your taxes are going up.
But when you say up, I did not a little research, but as I was diving in, the taxes that'll go up will be like 0.4%, 0.3%. It's not a lot, but it's backwards steps. Whereas the other Harris is like 2.8%, if not more, that we're going to have decreases in our taxes being less than $400,000 a year makers, and it would actually decrease considerably or increase considerably the taxes that the super wealthy pay, which is how we're going to pay for all the things that she's promising.
Exactly.
And so how the workers, how the truck drivers and this and that do not vote for Harris is beyond me. They're literally voting against their better interests strictly because they're conned.
Let's talk quick about what Trump did in 2016 through 2020 when it comes to the economy. And again, I understand that COVID is like a huge blip on there.
It is, but you can look around that, and at the same time, I do think it's very interesting that we can, for the first time, I believe that we can evaluate. We have a president from 2016 to 2020 that we can look at what he did and extrapolate information from that. And then we have a vice president that's been in office for another 4 years and extrapolate information from. Now, she's not making every decision, but she's in that administration. So we have examples of 4 years as president, give or take, that you can see results. And I think, that was one of the things I took away from all the videos I've been cramming coming up to this, is just like we have literally, reference points and they are damning, in my opinion, towards Trump. So, but go on.
I mean, essentially, well, he lowered the corporate interest or the corporate tax rate down to like 21%.
Yeah.
And again, this basically what this all comes down to is this really a study of it's the trickle down idea, starting with Reagan, that the idea that, well, if you deregulate businesses, which, harms the environment, puts workers' safeties at risk, and
consumers
at risk and stuff like that. If you deregulate that type of stuff, if you allow these people to pay less in taxes and stuff like that, that they will eventually trickle this money down, with higher wages and better benefits, more employees. But history has obviously fucking shown that that's not the case, which is why we have billionaires right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, this type of stuff doesn't work. This is Donald Trump that is basically just, he's being obsequious to, the people that he is a sycophant to, the super rich that he wants to please.
Yeah.
None of that is going to benefit the majority of Americans. Okay. And like, you can talk about the stock market being higher than, like, obviously my portfolio did better, but I'm in the lower middle class. That is utterly, like, it doesn't matter to me if I,
it's a blip,
made a few $1,000s. Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about people making hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars and stuff like that.
Let me jump
That's
in
who
here
the stock market benefits.
Let me jump in on stuff, because you're mentioning the stock market on what stock buybacks are. So when Donald Trump puts in this implication of less taxes for the rich and less regulations, for corporations, and they're supposed to, okay, now we have a surplus of money. Let's buy better equipment for everybody. Let's hire more. Let's put tons of money into research and development and make our products better and more efficient. But that's not what happens. What happened literally is record stock buybacks, which is a company having all this extra money, so they buy their own stock back from the wealth or whoever bought them before, thus boosting their price. The more stock that's bought, it increases the price of the stock. It's a supply and demand thing. This is proven. You can look at it. So
and this was a record amount of stock buybacks during Trump's administration.
Thus, the stock market looked fantastic because nobody knows how the fuck that works. But it is just like that. If a company has a ton of money, they don't have to be doing very good things for their stock to go up. All they have to have is a lot of people buying their stock. So if they're buying all their stock, it's false. It's a fake numbers. Where we're at, it is what it is. But
and even Biden, I mean, if you're that in the stock market's hit record numbers under Biden right now. You know what I mean? But again, that isn't that beneficial to people, the majority of Americans like us. The lower class and the middle class. Like, that is not going to significantly improve our lives. And at the same time, there's an oil baron in this country named Howard Hamm, okay? And he is a close friend of Donald Trump's. And this is not hard to find. This is not hard information to find. You can look this up. Type in Howard Hamm, Donald Trump, OPEC, MBS, Putin. You probably don't even need all of those names and words entered into a Google search bar to find this. But you will find that Donald Trump, through Putin, and OPEC and all of these people all agreed to drastically reduce their supply of oil, okay, during COVID when things were like really bad. drastically. And when you reduce supply, what does that do? It drives price up. Donald Trump had a huge hand in all of your fucking oil and all of the gas prices going up through the roof. Okay? Those things started to happen at the end of his presidency, and that was a result of him. Okay? So when you try and blame these things, like that is a direct, like you usually can't blame economies on presidents. Like there is to some degree, like Obama left Trump an awesome economy. Trump added a lot to the debt through again, yeah, I mean, record. And a lot of that has to do with COVID. I mean, it was the third biggest increase in national debt of any president. And that's via ProPublica, which is really the only investigative news source that I absolutely trust because they're a nonprofit and they're brilliant. Also, I mean, his trade war was estimated to cost like 300,000 jobs because, again, he thinks that tariffs
are a good thing.
No, and they're not a good thing. It's like the best way I saw it explained was from what's his face, that other freaking billionaire who is voting for Harris. But again, you're a billionaire. You had to hurt people to get Mark Cuban.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, look, so let's say a company wants to buy, and there are some good reasons for tariffs because what it can do is it can dissuade certain companies from doing business with countries that maybe we don't have in our best interest or, you know, unsavory in some way. You know what I mean? So you can put tariffs on their goods, which Trump thinks that like is good for China. Like, yes, China is, you know, not very great on the human rights scale and stuff like that. But at the same time, I mean, how dependent is our economy on China? Very much so. So doing this is ridiculous. So basically the company that imports goods to make their product or whatever, or components they need or whatever, will have to pay like let's say they pay, I think Cuban was like, let's say you pay $1 for a widget or whatever. Now you're going to pay $1.10. That 10 cents is for the tariff. Okay. So you have to pay that. That goes to the government. But companies, again, history has shown, in order to make that money up, that 10 cents, that's going to add up. What are they going to do? They're going to either cut labor or they're going to put that extra cost in the consumers. So there is nothing about Donald Trump's tariff plan that is going to help anybody in this country whatsoever. Okay?
It's proven statistics right there.
And it's another one of those things that is just like so obvious and has been explained so many times. And it's like the cats and the dogs thing. The motherfucker still insists that this is a good plan. He still insists that those costs don't go to the consumers. Like it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like he still insists that the election wasn't stolen. Like he still insists that people are eating cats and dogs. The Haitian immigrants that are legally here, by the way.
Yeah.
Like it's unfreaking believable.
No, I don't, and that's his plan. That's it. He doesn't have much when it comes to his economic plan.
No, he doesn't at all. I mean, the stuff he has going on now, sorry, I mean, you were looking up some of this stuff too, right?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, I think the corporate tax rate right now is like 21%. He wants to take that down to 15%. Yeah, and that's a huge part of Project 2025 as well.
Again, promoting trickle down, which is proven not to work.
Yes.
Never does.
Yeah,
when Harris is in comparison is trying to do, she's going to tax stock buybacks, which we just discussed, exuberantly. Something about like 35 to 50% on that, because your company should not be able to buy its own stock. And if it wants to, that's fine, but you're going to pay us for it.
She also wants to have legislation to stop price gouging at the grocery store. Because again, like what she's doing is, inflation can happen for a number. I mean, again, again, the Fed can have a lot to do with that. You pump a whole bunch of money into, you know, the economy, putting it in people's hands because of COVID, the stimulus checks and stuff like that. Like, yes, that is going to cause inflation. But a large part of it is corporate greed. And when this happens, they always take advantage of it because it's easy for them to just be like, oh, well, you know, all these other things are driving it. But really at the same time, like, it's just people wanting to take advantage of a bad situation because they're in the position to do so. And that's just a human condition that sucks, whatever. Like, but capitalism allows those types of things.
Yeah.
So these companies, these oil companies, because they cut supply, you know, and drove up prices, why your groceries are so high, like all of that stuff, like, again, honestly, you want to talk about trickle down, that trickles down to like the farmers and stuff and the ones that produce their food. They're the ones that are getting fucking hurt, that have to fucking pay the extra prices to, you know, like they have to recoup their shit. But grocery stores, huge chains and stuff like that, they don't have to do that.
No.
Okay, so that's what the price gouging that she wants to go after as well.
Yeah, you can see that, like,
child tax credit increase.
We all know that we are paying more at the grocery store. We feel it when we go there. It doesn't. We can't fill the cart anymore for $200. That's as those days are done. But so you would think that, like we're all hurting in a big nation sense. So the companies functioning within these nations should be hurting with us, you would imagine. But they're not. They're getting record profits. How is that possible? Unless they're gouging us, you would just expect them to also be on the downfall and okay with it in a way. Like, yeah, we get it. We're all struggling. I get we're going to pay a little more for this because we want that product. But they're not doing that. It's shrinkflation, which is putting less in your packages, and inflation where they're charging more for the packages to begin with. And yet they're making a hand over fist, record profits, super bonuses for CEOs, and the people are struggling and then saying it's the Biden economy. And it's like, it's not. It's because they have the regulations that we would want in place that Trump would be stripping away, let alone putting more in place. But Harris, who has a detailed plan on her website, multiple pages that you can look at.
Yeah, not a concept.
Has a plan and has things that she wants to do. And like, I got into cryptocurrency and got into stocks and I have a fairly good understanding of how all that system works. So when I made money with it, even my father said to me, like, now, when we talk about taxes, you want them, you get it now. And I said, no, I'm doing absolutely nothing buying stock and selling stock, and I'm making money doing that. There should be more taxes here. A 5% tax on every transaction would make incredible money because of how many people are involved in it without actually hurting the individual. So when you hear like a 5% tax on stock purchases and sales or an increase of that amount, that a normal person that's invested in and doing a lot in the stock market that just wants money would say like, oh no, I would never, I don't want to lose anything there. But somebody that understands economics like I do, and I can say, yeah, that would hurt a little bit, but what am I actually doing but clicking a button? There is no actual, utility there. This is easy money to get. All you got to do is watch the market. There should be taxes on this. And if that's going to fund universal child, what am I trying to say?
Universal childcare.
Childcare. Thank you. I just couldn't
kids
put it together.
Kids being fed at schools.
Exactly.
Maybe not like I saw the best thing. It's like one of the tweets I think I probably posted. It was somebody just like, oh, like actually your son's lunch credits are delinquent, but or something like the real problem is the fact that kids like don't have money to pay for school lunches because their account is delinquent. But you think that like schools have the money to spend like $40,000 on like a 5 to 7 hour surgery to like make a trans kid, to make, you know what I mean? Like stuff like, it just made me laugh. I sort of segued there, but the factor that's important there, Sean, though, is that like you are an altruistic, caring person. Okay. And like, this is what we have to break through. And this kind of circles back to me talking to my wife about like what it's not identifying why people vote for Trump, you know what I mean? Because clearly all of the horrible things he says and does doesn't seem to bother a lot of them, which gives me pause about the type of people that they are. Yeah. Like I've seen a lot of articles lately. It's just like, you can't say that like these are just bad people just because they vote for Trump. And it's just like, well, no, I mean, they might be very kind. They might be pleasant to have a conversation with, but like
their moral compass is fucked.
Yeah, exactly. They're still like, and this isn't the same, like, I mean, I guess it can be. I mean, the same thing could be said about, us voting for Harris and the fact the Biden administration has allowed all this money to go to the IDF, like our tax dollars and stuff like that. Like,
if we just dismiss that, I would say, yeah, there's something wrong with us. But I'll tell you, that we realize what's happening there, but there is a lesser of two evils scenario.
Exactly. Like that's kind of the difference here. Like Trump is like all evil. You know what I mean? Like that dude is just like he's such the opposite of what these evangelicals, claim to worship and tout and stuff like that. Yet they still support him. Like it's crazy. I've seen like on my drive to and from work every single day, a road by my house, there's somebody that has like, it's like Jesus Christ is for Donald Trump or something like that sign in their yard. And it's just so incredibly absurd. Like I can't, like, anyways, what we were getting to was like, not like that's a different type of person or whatever that might vote for him for some reason or another. But we decided that like the study shouldn't be focused on like what type of person votes for Trump. It should be focused on what the fuck will it take for people to finally be like, this guy is a piece of shit human being, and I will do anything to keep him out of the White House. What will it take? And I'm obviously amazed that we haven't seemed to identify that yet.
It's neck and neck. But I don't see anywhere that could be unless there are people not paying attention and people paying attention, and it's 50-50 of that.
It's baffling. Well, I was actually surprised to find out that there is and a lot of these people are the undecideds. There are still a large group of people that don't pay attention to the news, whether they don't care, whether they're just working their asses off.
And they may not want to be
You know what I
depressed,
mean?
though, which I do recommend, because these times suck for most people because financially it's hard.
I get it, but
You want to turn on the TV and watch dead babies be walked in that you paid for when you
just-
can't afford to feed your own kids? It's hard.
it finds no, I know, I get it. I just find it like it's not like they're living under a rock. They're like, how can you not know? Like, I feel like just one clip, just the clip back from 2016 or 17 of Trump making fun of the disabled reporter, you know, like doing the mannerisms of the man who had a condition, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that alone, for fuck's sake, should disqualify you from being the president of the United States. Like, how does that not change people's opinion of him?
He's been found liable for sexual assault. He's
a felon.
The Stormy Daniels thing is obviously
January
true.
6th is
January
so
6th.
huge.
It's been so much. It's the same reason that we look at these storms that are hitting in Florida and we just are like, oh man, another one, because it's unprecedented.
You get
but whatever.
desensitized.
I'm desensitized to it. So when Trump, what was it? The latest one was I don't know, the one woman is accusing him of groping her. I don't know what it is. Fuck, I lost it. But it doesn't matter.
With Jeffrey Epstein or whatever, like, yeah.
It's everything they hate, the QAnons and everything else. It's a direct tie to Jeffrey Epstein, where him and Trump were playing a game at this party and groping everybody and seeing what they could get away with. But like, if you hear that and you're a Trump supporter, you're like, yeah, that's just more fluff. Because he does so many bad things that like, nah, it can't all be real.
Yeah, so what will it take?
There's nothing anymore at this point. It's a full-on cult. You tell a cult member that...
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what my wife said. She's like, it's a cult. And I was like, yep.
Yeah, you can't tell a Scientologist they're an idiot when they think that you give enough money to this place and you'll get further in your heavenly travels. And be like, that seems a little silly. Maybe, when I put money in there, they're going to be like, what? No, this is my God. I held those two metal things and they graded me. So fuck them. And, that's a cult in its own right, too. And that's what the Trump situation is. It's these people that I don't know how he did it, but he somehow warped them all into thinking he's this straight talking, doesn't give a shit, great businessman when he's bankrupted everything he's ever done. He was handing money from his dad to start the things that he bankrupted. He bankrupted a casino. Casinos don't bankrupt. They are also evil. And
it's because he was laundering money,
of
dude.
Course,
and he owed it to somebody, probably the Russians.
All I'm saying is that they're like reasons why he's great are so wrong that like it's that inundation of trash that you just at some point you're like, I don't know, I support him. I don't care anything else.
It's the simple most common word to describe that movement right now, and it's just hypocrites. That's the word I always come back to. It's so incredibly hypocritical in so many demonstrable ways. Like, we could talk for a whole podcast about how Trump supporters will claim to be against something and then either, do the exact opposite, or Trump will demonstrate that he's done the exact opposite. You know what I mean? Like, again, January 6th, the whole law and order thing, they went up against 150 cops storming the Capitol and seriously injured several of them. And I think one or two of them died like afterwards, like due to like one guy had a stroke or something and died like the next. I mean, like,
and the suicide.
And they were waving back the blue flags when they did it. Like, I can't. Oh my God! You just need a picture of that to be like,
seriously,
like that. Put that in the dictionary under hypocrisy.
I have asked
like that old joke.
So many MAGA supporters about January 6th, like, how can you justify that? And they're like, that is not as bad as you think it is.
Okay.
And I'm like, I watched the trial, I saw all the footage. I really took that in because I feel like that is something that we're going to study for years to come. And yet there are people out there that think it was a peaceful protest and that they went inside and like stayed in an orderly line and the cops let them in and this and that. And it's like, if that's where your head's at, like, I don't even know where to start here. I got a 4-minute video I could show you. Yeah. That should be like, oh, well, that might have happened like way over here, real small, I guess. No, the whole place. Dude. There's poop smeared on the walls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you don't even, like, you could take pictures, you could show that image to somebody, how ridiculous that is, of like the struggles being just the one cop getting his head crushed.
Yeah, screaming.
Dude, I mean, like, video. My gosh, like, It's crazy. But even that, just take away the either the video or like the image and just play the audio, the things they're screaming. You know what I mean? Like screaming for Nancy Pelosi, screaming hang Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Like it's
you have every congressman right and left fleeing the building through secret tunnels and paths, having them try to redirect so that they don't get killed.
It was a peaceful protest.
And they're like, that's just peaceful.
Oh my God. But that's also a prime example of people just denying what's right before their very eyes. And that is very concerning.
It's a cult.
It makes it just as concerning.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean, it is very concerning, but I don't even know where the turning, how you change this mindset anymore. Like
what will it take?
A good debate with an undecided or a third party is fine with me. If you're voting for Trump still, then I don't even have time. Most of the time, if I'm talking to somebody that's going to support Trump, I just like to extrapolate information and be like, how dumb are you? Mm-hmm. You know, and it's fun in its own right. It's pretty easy, but you know, it's blatant ignorance. It's wool over the eyes, and but you know, like I said, the only conversation I want to have anymore is with Green Party and non-voters. The rest are just, there's no win in that. You're already gone, and you won't realize it until it hits your literal pocketbook or family.
Most people have pretty much made up their mind about Donald Trump, the person, you know.
Yeah,
and it's, again, even some of them will still vote for him because they think they're going to make more money. Like anybody that's on the fence right now, that's on the fence or voting third party is, again, most likely due to the foreign policy in Gaza and the West Bank.
I respect that. I do respect it. I respect your mentality. I respect that you don't have them. Like, I can't morally vote for this person because it's part of a genocide against a people. I get that. I have a struggle with it myself.
Yeah, it's like you're not endorsing her, but you're voting for her to keep somebody out who I think I demonstrated pretty well with those points earlier that. And also John Bolton did say that like Trump never had any plan for Israel. Like there's not going to be a plan for any of that stuff other than he said he talked to Netanyahu the other day and he also recommended that Israel should bomb Iran. So, I mean, like it's not going to get any better under him. Again, do I know for certain? No. But do you want to roll the dice on that shit? And voting green or not voting at all is rolling the dice on it because the same thing could happen in 2016. Like Harris's margin of victory, you know what I mean, might be less than the amount of people that end up voting Green Party or not voting at all. And that could help Trump win.
Yeah.
And there is nothing to suggest that man won't do anything but make that situation worse and make everything domestically worse as well. Whether it's the economy, whether it's, you know, stripping rights away from women, making a federal abortion ban. I mean, he went in front of a bunch of a Christian assembly of people and was like, if I win, you're never gonna have to vote again.
Yeah,
you'll never vote again. Like, I mean, what does that tell you?
Yeah.
Is it the ramblings of a man who clearly has mental decline, which the media should be spending a lot more time on? I wonder why they won't do that. Yes, I mean it could be, but there are definitely a lot of ideas within Project 2025. And there are people that are in this administration currently that worked on that and people that worked in his previous administration. Like he's very much tied to that shit. You have to be more concerned about the people that are going to be working underneath him this time because there are not adults in the room. There are trads, there are religious lunatics, there are white nationalists. You know what I mean? They're all opportunists, obviously. I mean, that's all Project 2025. It just screams opportunists. They're going to do whatever they can for their strange, odd little movement. And I don't know. I just keep coming back to why I fucking rolled the dice, man.
Yeah.
You know, like...
You can still fight the good fight and try and make our administration hold its own after. And think about those days. You can
fight the good fight. And yeah.
And like, who do you want to fight against? Because voting for Jill Stein isn't doing anything but giving away a Harris vote. No. Not voting at all isn't doing anything but giving Trump a vote. You know, so you have to think about it that way. You want to keep fighting and try and get a change in this country, put somebody in office that has potential for change. Whether you think they're going to do it or not, there might be potential, a percentage there. Trump has zero potential to give a fuck about foreign policy or even understand it.
He just wants to not go to jail, and the people behind him are going to make this country a lot worse.
Yeah.
Because he's just filling them. I mean, you know, they say a lot about how, like, you know, he's, you know, you're going to answer to him, like, as far as the military goes and not the Constitution and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I think that is a big part of it. But I think his main goal is to just get rid of all of these convictions so he doesn't have to go to jail. And then honestly, I think the people advising him this time are just going to tell him stuff that he's going to do. That I think his very nature is going to allow him to agree with a lot of the bogus, crazy shit that they're going to tell him to do. And that's how things are going to get done this time.
Yeah.
Rather than just like him spouting it out and John Kelly or somebody or like Mark Esper being like, no, we're not going to withhold money from these people. And so you're like, no, you know what I mean? Like,
I want to call back and say that 2016 to 2020 was a trial run for him.
Yeah.
You know, what can I get away with? You know, so he does this huge tax cut for the rich, which is, you know, all economists are saying
Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
You know, like this is bad and we shouldn't do this. And yet he does it and the people support it for some fucking reason. And then it proves to be bad and the people don't give a shit about it. I don't know if you remember, but when there was the, it was like Senate races and they were doing that voting, Trump came out and said, like, we did our tax cut for the rich. Now we're going to do one for you. Mm-hmm. And as we spoke on our cast, it was like, I'll love to see it after this election, which was never spoke of again. But it was only right before, just so maybe he swayed a few votes towards getting more red. Yeah. And he didn't do what he said at all. And nobody held him accountable.
No.
So, and again, where Danny's saying there were adults in the room during those times, and barely. And then at that time, so to think that this next, if he actually wins after everything he's done and said, you think he's going to hold back at all? This is his last chance, and he's going to put as many awful changes in place and try and fortify him as best as he can. During his 2016, 2020, he put more judges in place on low-lying areas. You know what I mean? He got Supreme Court judges, obviously, but he's got more than like 250 judges put across the nation that are going to do his bidding.
And they're going to do that again, trust me.
Of course.
If they have it, I mean, you're going to have an all-conservative Supreme Court, and at that point, like...
We're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, this gay marriage is going to go out the window right there.
Yeah.
Chevron deference already, I think, is being contemplated, which is, you know what that is, right?
I do not.
Chevron deference is basically like, rather than, it's allowing, very simply, it's allowing, like, when it comes to regulations for corporations, whether it's like, let's say their environmental impact, like let's say like a company has wastewater, you know, like the way they're going to dispose of it that needs to be safe for the environment, safe for the community, rather than consult people on the court, basically, you know, through the legal process who maybe don't understand things as well. They would go through, you know, scientists, environmentalists who have the expertise to
make the right decision.
Yeah. So you defer to them.
Okay.
Sort of, you give them, what's the word I'm looking for? You allow them, like, you delegate that responsibility. So doing away with that would basically just be at that point, it could be like, you know,
Ted
the way
Cruz
nuclear, yeah, exactly. like Ted Cruz being like, oh yeah, okay, well, this nuclear reactor, like, it might make some people some money, but, you know, it might hurt the environment. Well, let's just make some money here. Like, whatever. We don't need to listen to you know, it's another way for things to be deregulated or unregulated, which is going to be harmful to, you know, people, the environment.
Yeah.
And again, just deregulation when in any type of industry is just about, exactly, it's just about people making money, cutting costs and making money.
Yeah, all the problems you see with Boeing and why their stock is tanking and this and that and their planes have fallen out of the sky is due to deregulation and rushing. You know, when the one that was, there were two planes that went down, the Max, the 747 Max, went down because it had a feature in it that would, at a certain altitude, would try to correct.
Yep.
But if the sensors, which were put on the nose of the plane, were impacted by a bird or anything, it could possibly go off and make it start to nosedive. But when they gave everybody these new planes, they were like, any pilot that can pilot this previous plane can pilot that just fine.
Yes, but that wasn't the case.
There was
extra training that was needed.
For let alone that sensor, I'm sure plenty more that didn't happen to go wrong. But so when they went wrong, these pilots and everybody to the ground. And they just, all they had to do was somehow turn it off, a little bit of knowledge on how to make that, like, oh, disregard that sensor, we're back to level. But hundreds of people were killed. And that's strictly because of the deregulations that made it so you could just believe what Boeing says and not have to have that third party.
It's because of capitalism.
Verification. It's that too.
Everything comes back to it. And like I said, that's why, like,
I just like to give real world examples so that people can understand that, like, it's not just words being said. It's like the deregulation killed tons of people and now a company is going through all kinds of turmoil strictly because of the moves of a president that we want to put back in office.
Yeah, the company's going through turmoil. People are losing money or whatever, but nobody's going to fucking jail, though.
No, of course.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the big. I mean, that's another huge problem with capitalism that I mentioned earlier. Like, legal for a price basically is punishable by fine. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we have a felon running for president. You know,
full on felon.
Yeah, and the guy's got, shitloads of fucking money. At least, maybe he used to, or he did at one point. Either way, he still has money.
Yeah.
Look at what he pulls in from his pack from people that are just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy these shoes.
When he got convicted, he
all
made
the other grifts,
$40 million, $60 million off that conviction alone. It's ridiculous. But we're going late. It's a minute 10 now.
I don't care. We didn't cover enough of the facts, but.
Well, let me do this because I did a little minor deep dive on it. You might hear, if you look into this at all, that Harris was touted by 32 Nobel Prize winning economists in a signed letter saying that her economic policy will be beneficial for the country and Trump's will be devastating. Yep. So I thought, like, that's kind of I don't know how many Nobel Prize winners there are in economics. What if there's hundreds of thousands? I don't fucking know. I don't know how that works exactly. So I dove in a little bit. And I have it on my phone, so I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like 55 awards. Economist awards were given to like 93 people, because sometimes they give it to 2 people if they conjointly worked on something. So you've really only got 93 in a pool. And what was it? 39, 60?
39.
39 of them.
So like a little over a third.
A little over a third of them. And this is ever.
Well, you said 39 or 60? Is that what you just said?
I couldn't remember the other number. I
thought it was 39 or something.
It's 100% 39. I don't know where the 60 came from. But either way, and this is since its inception. So some of these have passed away, whatever. But like 39 is a huge chunk. Way more than I would, when I thought there were multiple hundred maybe. 39 doesn't mean shit to me. When you go under 100 people and 39 of them, and these are Nobel Prize winning, it takes a lot of understanding of economics to win a Nobel Prize. And for 39 to come together and say, yeah, we'll put our stamp on that. That's legit. We can look at the numbers, say that's fucked and that's good. Go with the good. I just felt like I wanted to make that point because to me, if you just say 39 Nobel Prize winning, it doesn't really hit the way it should.
Trump's economic plan as it stands right now, which again is not, this is from the Committee for Responsible Federal Budgets report. As it stands right now, which again, I guess is still more of a concept of a plan, but with the tariffs and the tax breaks for the rich and stuff that he's touted and stuff like that, they've said that could add as much as $15 trillion to the debt in another 4 years.
Record breaking.
Okay. Yeah, that's insane. The only thing about Harris is that, like, a lot of people are like, well, how's it going to be paid for? Obviously, that's going to be taxes on the rich, but that's going to have to happen first. But, like, how are the 3 million homes she wants to build for, first-time home buyers or for really just anybody at all, just to put more on the market? Again, when there's more homes, that's going to drive prices down. That's an important thing. And then, like, the $25,000 home buying assistance for first-time home buyers, how's that going to be paid for by rich people who literally, like, can afford to do this, but they don't want to lose money that they don't even... they can't even spend in a lifetime. You know what I mean? Like,
if you own a house and bought it like before COVID or right in the midst of it, like, you don't know what it's like these days to try and purchase a house as a lower middle class person. If you see the home you can afford, you shouldn't buy it. It's not like it used to be, where they're like a good starter home, something that's got, a little work needs done here and there, but this is a good place to begin. Those days are done. And it's hard for you to fathom. I have other 40-year-old friends that are still looking to buy their first home because they're just financially smart. And they're like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm so done renting. My family is making more than $200,000 a year, yet we can't buy a $400,000 home, which is essentially what we need when it should be $250,000, And so, like, when you hear about the way to bring down these prices and $25,000 tax credit to a first-time home buyer, that's not 21, 27-year-olds. It is. But at the same time, it's now 40-some-year-olds that need this credit to help them purchase a home for their families and their, like, 8-year-olds.
It's people in our age group who, unfortunately, a lot of those white males for some reason are still statistically supporting Donald Trump.
Of course,
but there's more white women who are behind Harris than Donald Trump. That's for sure. And they might be single issue voters, you know what I mean? But in their purest of hearts, like I said, I think we're all pretty much united in just keeping Donald Trump out of there, like above all else, because, like Harris in 90 days put together a decent plan that sounds good, but we all know what politicians say and whether or not they can accomplish it. And again, there's a lot to be said for checks and balances. Like, Congress has to approve a lot of this stuff, which is why the trifecta is important. And Trump did have the trifecta. Where would you didn't get a wall. You got tax breaks for the wealthy.
Yeah. When he had the Senate, the House Republicans, and the presidency, all that happened were the rich got super fucking wealthy. Nothing happened for you. When he had full carte blanche, could do whatever the fuck he wanted. This doesn't tell you anything? Maybe look back at those days?
Yeah, I mean, if the economic reason is why you're on the fence, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't. It's not. I just wish people would see past the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Harris's campaign is more open about what she plans to do. Whether or not that happens again, remains to be seen. But it's like, what am I gonna? If these are my only two options, which they are, it is going to be her or Donald Trump. Voting for Jill Stein isn't going to do anything. It's, in my opinion, I'm sorry, it's performative.
It is.
And a lot of times, if you're doing it posting it on the internet, like your ballot saying, like, writing like Free Palestine or checking Jill Stein or whatever, and being like, like I obviously stand behind you for Free Palestine, but you're being performative at this point. To me, it's almost just like you're trying to profit, maybe not through money, but through views and clout. It's clout chasing, and that disgusts me. Yeah. Okay, get people out to organize or inform people in different ways. Like, we're not doing this for clout. We only do like 4 freaking year because, we don't have that much time. Right now, I just want to try and change somebody's mind and get another vote for Harris so we can keep Trump out of there. Yeah. Then go nuts for 4 years. Make her accountable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Protest all you want. You may not be able to protest or even say certain things or make certain videos.
Yeah. I would love,
if Donald Trump gets back in there.
I would love to never speak about Donald Trump again. I would love to critique Harris's plans and give you information on why she sucks. Because I'm sure she does. But the kind of again, it's just it's a one or the other. And who do you think you're making happy when you're voting for Jill Stein or not voting? I mean, Trump. Because if you're smart enough to think I don't want to vote for Harris for this reason, then you've already chosen not to vote for Trump, because you actually have a stance you stand on. And so he just hopes, I hope you decide that Gaza's enough for you, that you'll vote for Jill Stein and I'll still win.
Netanyahu.
Yeah.
Said he was the best friend he ever had from the White House.
There you go. That's enough right there. If you
want to roll the dice on that, like, instead of,
you'll yeah, it is.
Just look at the man. It's like, Harris might look like a monster because of all this, but like, at least try to focus on a decency factor between the two. I gotta feel like she's a much more decent person if we're just stripping all the politics away just as human beings. That man is a sociopath. Like, why can't people see that?
A gold-plated toilet. Literally what he owns.
Yeah.
The guy has one-track mind, and there's no way around it.
This dude's running so he doesn't go to fucking jail, man. Yeah. And there's scary people behind him.
It's 50-50 race.
Fucking A. Get out and vote. Vote
Please.
For Harris.
Vote.
You know what I mean? You can do what you want. You can. That is your right.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I hope that some people that we tried to address tonight don't have to take that long, hard look in the mirror. I like, whatever. If Trump ends up winning, then I hope he does end the war in Gaza, and I hope things somehow become great. But there's nothing
saying that's going to happen.
Exactly. There's nothing indicating that. And if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck.
Yeah. Do research. Keep reading deeper. If you don't understand something, don't give up. Keep looking into it and vote for Harris. But challenge us, on Facebook, anywhere you can find us. We'll comment back eventually.
Sean probably will. I won't.
I definitely will. But yeah, I would love to get down with it and maybe change your mind at some point. But yeah, as long as this thing it's not enough time. There's so much more we could talk about.
I'd love
how shitty Trump is.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to.
No, yeah, I don't think
my kids will be home sometime.
Yeah, so that's just my goodbye. I don't know how to wrap it up pleasantly, but
I don't know either. I think we should try as early as we possibly can in November to have the next one. So if you tune into this, if you're one of like the 50 on average people that watch our videos, which is cool to me. If we can get even 1 or 2 or 3 of you.
Our quick slays got like 10 to 17, and I'm like, that's awesome.
Oh, yours got more. Mine got like 9. But again, like, I get it. Sean's the smart one, and I go on, just drag on and lose train of thought all the time.
That's debatable, but either way, I'm happy if I got 1-2 views. I don't give a shit. We don't do it for that. We're not getting hundreds. We're not getting. We don't promote anything. Products wise, no sponsors. We do this strictly because it gives us a chance to hang out and we can bitch for a minute to somebody that.
Yeah, this is the only way. Lately I've been active saying stuff on Facebook when I shouldn't, but this is really my only way to get my thoughts out. And if we ever did get sponsors and make money, which we would have to give you a much better product instead of all this loosey-goosey crap, like writing scripts and shit.
Then we won't, because I
would if we were making money, but I wouldn't do it for that. Like, it would be so we could maintain it. You know, like if we need microphones, we have the money to do that.
Production
Other than
value,
that,
not changing
increase production value, finding ways to get to more listeners, and then honestly, like I would just ask for donations and then, you know, use what we need to keep things going and donate the rest to something. Like I want a rooftop garden so bad. Yeah. Make it happen. Slayers of Boredom podcast. Let's fund the rooftop garden in Harrisburg, a community garden where, you know, if you log how many hours you work and tend and help there, and then you get free produce, whatever we grow, you know, like stuff like that. Communal. Work there. Well, yeah, you don't have to work there, but I mean,
you can log whatever hours you want there to cover your community service if you need. But
yeah, that's a good idea.
Then it's all free to the public, and I just feel like the community will keep it nice. Like, why do we have grocery stores with dead roofs? That whole roof could be a full-on fucking garden. They wouldn't even need to supply themselves with groceries. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, you know.
But then farmers on have, you know.
It's a small end. But either way, there's things we could do, and it's not that financially unfeasible to try out different little things. And, you know, if Slayers of Boredom could raise money and do this stuff, we are altruistic. We don't give a shit. We have our jobs and support our families. This won't make us any money. But if we can make enough money to do a garden or something or clean a park up, fuck yeah.
I want to make money by, like, winning the lottery or whatever.
Days later. That's a fucking dumb tax. That's nothing. You never win the lottery.
No, I know, but I don't play it that much. But I'm saying, like, if I'm ever going to be rich, like, I just hope it's from that. And, you know, it wouldn't be from me trampling on other people to get that way is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'll never be rich.
No, I probably won't be.
No, nothing against your work ethic or anything. No, I'm just saying that if you're not willing to stomp on people or be a bad person, you'll never be rich. It's just not possible.
Well.
All right. Well,
get out and vote.
Yep.
This is episode 4 or 7 or whatever the fuck it was of season 3.
Yep. Slayers of Boredom Podcast.
That wasn't enough to full volume. So sorry if things felt a little thin.